Hey there, welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, we dive into some of Reddit's most thought-provoking Am I the A-hole stories to see some of the tough choices people face when life doesn't go according to plan. The first story is a tough one, about a man caught between honoring his grandfather and staying true to himself. And as always, if you're liking the visual style or have suggestions, I'd really love your feedback. Let's make this channel feel like a space we build together. All right, let's get into it.
I'm originally from a very conservative and traditional South Asian country who moved to the US for further studies. Here, I met and married my husband. I'm gay, 28M. When I came out to my parents, they weren't thrilled, but eventually tolerated it. Recently, my dad told me my grandpa's health is deteriorating, and he desperately wants to see me married before he dies. My parents have not told Grandpa I am gay or already married. They say he is too old to handle the truth. At first, it was supposed to be a fake marriage, just to make Grandpa happy. My husband was totally supportive. He promised it's just a sham, and I'll still inherit a big chunk from Grandpa. During pre-wedding ceremonies, I assumed the bride knew the deal. But during the actual wedding, I saw real registry papers. My parents hadn't told anyone, not even the bride's family, that this was fake. I panicked, told everyone I'm gay and already married, and immediately booked the earliest flight back to the US. Back home, my mom tells me the bride's family insulted Grandpa, and it made him sicker. Now my mom is calling me selfish and an a-hole. Am I the a-hole?
That first story definitely stirred up a lot of strong opinions. Most people sided with OP, saying his parents were the real a-holes for setting up a fake wedding without being honest with anyone. But a few felt that even going along with the lie, especially to his grandfather, was crossing a line. Either way, it's clear, navigating family expectations can get messy fast. And speaking of family dynamics, this next story is about a mom who tried to make things right for her daughter after she was left out of a so-called boys' trip. But not everyone in the family saw it that way.
Am I the a-hole for taking my daughter somewhere when my husband and sons went on a boys' trip? I'm a 43-year-old female, and I have triplets, Mark, Liam, and Abby, all 14, with my husband Josh, who's 45. Last Friday, Josh decided to take Mark and Liam on a spontaneous trip to Six Flags. I don't like amusement parks, so I wasn't bothered about not being invited. Abby, however, asked to go too, but Mark and Liam told her it was a boys' trip and that she would ruin the vibe. Abby was really upset. She felt left out, and I felt bad for her. So I decided we'd have a day out together. On Saturday, we went to the Cheesecake Factory, our favorite restaurant, a local spa, and I let her do a mini shopping spree at the mall. It only came out to about $150. I paid for it all. I'd just gotten a hefty bonus and didn't know what else to spend it on. She felt a lot better after. We even had this heartfelt mother-daughter moment at Build-A-Bear where we made each other bears. We also had brunch on Sunday, although that wasn't very costly. The boys came home last night, and Abby was excited to tell Josh all about what we did over the weekend. That's when he got mad. He confronted me and said I shouldn't have done that. I asked why. He was the one who refused to let Abby go in the first place. He said it was a boys' trip, and that I shouldn't get her used to special treatment for not being involved in something. I asked why it bothered him so much, especially since I know he'd do something similar for our sons. But he wouldn't give me an answer. He even tried to take her bear, but I wouldn't let him. Now he's being cold to both me and Abby, and I'm at a loss. Am I the a-hole?
In the end, most commenters were firmly in OP's corner, saying she did the right thing by showing her daughter some care and attention after being left out. Others were more curious about the husband's reaction, wondering why he was so upset about something so simple and kind. But now we shift from emotional support to emotional safety. This next story is about a dad who set clear boundaries for his daughter's sleepover, only to walk in on a scene that left his stepson completely overwhelmed, and the fallout, well, it came fast.
Am I the a-hole for enforcing basic boundaries on my daughter's sleepover? I'm a 42-year-old male with 2 kids living with me, my daughter Anya, who's 17, and my stepson Noah, who's 14. Noah's mom passed a few years ago, and I've had full custody since. He's had a rough go of it, but he's a good kid, with his quirks. He's not antisocial or shy, but he really doesn't like having his space invaded. And when he gets very upset, he kind of shuts down. Anya is much more outgoing and has a lot of friends. She asked to have a sleepover this weekend with 4 of them. I said yes, of course. But since her friends tend to be pretty loud and have a habit of crowding Noah, I gave her 2 basic rules. Don't go into her brother's room, and keep things down after 11 so the house can sleep. In my opinion, not exactly strict rules. To my surprise, I came upstairs to check on them at about 10. They're 17, so I did not think I had to monitor them every hour, and they were in Noah's room, and it looked like they'd been there a while. 2 of them were literally sitting on his bed with him there. One of them was flipping through his sketchbook. Another was messing with his other stuff, and they were all giggling in this weird way. Noah was clearly upset. He didn't say anything, didn't move, but there were tears in his eyes. And he wouldn't respond when I tried to talk to him. I told the girls to get out, right then, and that I was calling every single one of their parents. Anya was pretty upset with me, but I told her I gave them 2 rules, and they failed spectacularly. I did call all their parents, and I sent the girls home as soon as possible. Anya blew up at me, saying I embarrassed her. I told her to go to her room and that we'd speak in the morning. I spent about 20 minutes with Noah until he said he wanted to cool down on his own. When I went back to check on my daughter, she chose not to speak to me. It's late. Both of my kids are, hopefully, asleep. And I'm just left here wondering if I handled things the right way. Am I the a-hole?
Most folks agreed the dad handled things exactly how he should have, protecting his stepson and enforcing basic respect in his home. Some even shared similar stories about guests crossing boundaries and how hard it is to strike the right balance when emotions are running high. And that brings us to our next story, another clash of comfort, culture, and hospitality. But this time, it's not teenagers ignoring the rules. It's a guest from overseas who couldn't accept that things might be different outside of Italy.
Am I the a-hole for asking my husband's Italian friend to cook for herself and telling her I wouldn't eat her food? My husband's friend flew in from Bellagio, Italy a week ago. And as much as I tried, I could not make her happy. Not with home cooking, and not even with restaurants in Melbourne. We took her out to all kinds of places, hoping to introduce her to the amazing variety of food we have. But no sushi, no Thai food, no Chinese. Because, and I quote, Italian food is the best. We ended up going out for Italian 3 days in a row, and she still complained. About the pasta, about the cheese. Basically anything that wasn't exactly like Italy. She even complained about the wine. Not tasty enough. And when I ordered a cappuccino at 4 p.m., she got mad and said, "We don't drink cappuccino after 12 p.m. I was like, yeah, I drink what I want when I want. Then came the coffee critique, either too burnt or not hot enough. At the supermarket, she complained about the pasta selection not being authentic. And in the middle of the aisle, she decided to give me a lecture on how to properly pronounce the name of each pasta. Today, we decided to cook at home. Now, for context, I'm Asian. I love my spices. I love flavorful dishes, so I cooked what I know best. I didn't think it would be an issue. The first thing she said when she walked in was, "Your house smells bad." It was the fish sauce. She completely ignored my dish and asked my husband to take her out for lasagna instead. When she came back, she told me I should learn how to cook Italian food. Because it's not good for my husband to always eat fusion food. She said online recipes are stupid because they stray too far from tradition. I was so mad, and I didn't hold back. I told her it was arrogant and obnoxious to act like Italian food is the best food in the world. I said we would not be taking her out for Italian meals anymore. If she wanted them, she could go shopping, cook it herself, and enjoy it alone. I even told her sorry, But the ingredients won't be as good as in Italy, because she's not in Italy anymore. She should be grateful for what she can find. She cried and decided to leave early. My husband tried to explain that she's just set in her ways. This is only the second time she has ever traveled outside of Italy. The last time was Germany, over 20 years ago. He asked me to apologize, just to smooth things over. I said no. If she can't live without her Italian heritage for a few weeks, there's no way I'll ever convince her to like me anyway. So, am I the a-hole?
That last story had a lot of people shaking their heads, saying that being proud of your culture is one thing, but disrespecting your host's home and cooking, that crosses a line. Still, a few pointed out that not everyone adapts easily, especially when travel is rare and unfamiliar. And speaking of travel, our final story takes us across the globe, where one family's heritage trip turned into a battle of endurance and expectations. What happens when one person's limits start affecting everyone else's experience?
Am I the a-hole for not adjusting our China trip to my brother-in-law's cardio limits? I'm a 39-year-old male. I recently went to China with my sister, 36, her husband, let's call him Doug, 40, their 12-year-old son, my wife, and our 2 kids, 11 and 9. My sister and I were both born in China, but our family immigrated to Dallas when we were young. She stayed there, got married, and had her son. I ended up settling in the Pacific Northwest with my wife and our 2 gremlins of our own. Growing up, our parents really emphasized healthy eating and staying active, and my sister and I still live that way. We've passed it on to our kids too. Doug, on the other hand, is American in every sense of the word. He grew up on ultra-processed foods. Fruit snacks counted as fruit, and he'll fire up his Grand Wagoneer if he has to go more than 3 blocks. He's not TLC immobile, but he's definitely not built for long treks. Now, their son had just finished 7th grade, and he loved the ancient China unit, especially the terracotta warriors. So my sister thought this would be the perfect time to take him, as a half-Chinese kid, to visit his ancestral homeland. I was already planning a trip to Chongqing to visit family, so we decided to expand it to include Beijing, Xi'an, and Nanjing to match what their son had learned in school. I handled most of the planning. I tried to hint, repeatedly, that this trip would involve a lot of walking, especially since Chinese cities rely more on public transit and are way less car-dependent. Doug didn't take it seriously. Once we arrived, it became pretty clear he couldn't keep up during landmark visits. My sister often stayed behind with him, while my wife and I pushed forward with the kids to stay on schedule with our tour groups. Then came the final stop. My grandmother's hometown, near Chongqing. This place is basically vertical. We're talking stairs and steep slopes everywhere. One hot and humid day, I took the kids to the local market. We were going through a park our old family helped build, which I really wanted them to see. Doug insisted on coming. He said he didn't want to sit around all day. I warned him it was a long walk. He insisted anyway. Half a mile in, he was struggling. I slowed down for him, but the kids kept running ahead. After we got through the park, I convinced him to take a taxi back while I continued with the kids to the market. When we returned, Doug was sulking. My sister was upset. She said I was inconsiderate, that I should have just taken a taxi to the market from the beginning. I explained that would have taken longer, given the layout, and the kids would not have been able to walk through the park that was part of our family history. She said she did not realize how physically demanding the trip would be, since she let me handle most of the planning, and that I did not consider Doug's limits. Now, I do agree I could have been more considerate of Doug's cardio levels, but not at the expense of my nephew and kids experiencing their cultural roots. This was my nephew's first time in China, and my kids' first time in places like Xi'an and Beijing. They all said they had an amazing and educational experience. So, am I the a-hole?
Families can bring out the best and worst in us, and as we've seen today, doing the right thing isn't always simple. Whether it's setting boundaries, standing your ground, or just trying to be fair, sometimes even good intentions spark conflict. What do you think? Did these folks make the right calls? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, consider liking and subscribing for more real stories that make you think.